The receipt rested on the counter like a silent verdict. Zero, not a single cent. Just an empty line, where gratitude was supposed to appear, for Ilara Quinn Morales, standing beneath buzzing lights in a crowded diner filled with the clatter of forks and the rich scent of brewed coffee. That blank space felt heavier than the hours she'd already given that day. She inhaled slowly, grounding herself, because this moment wasn't really about money. It was about how life had a way of pressing hardest on those already barely holding on. Before we continue Ilara's journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of doing what's right, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who could use a little hope today, comment below, and subscribe to World of Kindness. And we'd love to know where you're watching from, so please share that too. Ilara was 28, a single mother doing everything she could to keep a fragile life from falling apart. She worked back-to-back shifts at a worn roadside diner just beyond Maple Crossing, a town that most people passed without ever noticing. Her day started before dawn, packing juice boxes and crayons for her 5-year-old son, who stayed with a generous neighbor, while Ilara spent her hours refilling mugs for people who rarely remembered her face. Fatigue clung to her like part of the uniform, sewn invisibly into her apron. That afternoon felt endless. The lunch rush melted into the late hours, and then he walked in. There was no big announcement, no demand for attention, yet the air in the diner subtly changed. He wore a well-cut coat, moved with a calm confidence, and spoke only when necessary. His name, later printed on the receipt, was Nathaniel Crower. Name Ilara didn't recognize, though many others would have. A billionaire fact she wouldn't discover until much later. Ilara treated him exactly as she treated everyone else. With quiet, consistent care, she topped off his coffee without being asked, delivered his order precisely, and checked on him one extra time because something about his distant expression felt heavy, like he was carrying a weight of his own. He offered a quiet thank you and ate alone. In silence, when he finished, he aligned his cutlery neatly on the plate, stood, and left without another word. It was only when Ilara returned to clean the table that she saw the receipt. Total tip: $0. Her chest tightened not with anger, but with that familiar sinking feeling. Thoughts of the grocery list taped to her fridge, the daycare payment, the rent due in less than 2 weeks, flooded her mind. She swallowed hard, reminding herself that kindness was never meant to be conditional. It was a choice you made regardless of the outcome. As she wiped the table, her cloth snagged on something. The plate caught on an object beneath it. She lifted it again, much slower this time, and noticed a folded piece of paper tucked underneath. Her name was written neatly across the front. Jess, Ilara. No explanation. Her heart started to race, not with fear, but with a strange, reverent curiosity. She slipped it into her apron pocket, deciding to wait. She waited until the diner quieted, until the last customer had left, and the only sounds were the hum of the old refrigerator and the soft swish of her own broom. Her hands trembled just enough to feel as she unfolded the note. Inside was a simple message. No decoration, no drama, just words. It spoke of noticing the way she carried her child's drawing in her pocket, how she spoke kindly even to difficult customers, and how she worked with grace when the day had offered none in return. The final line made her slide into the booth, her breath caught in her throat. This is not a tip, it's an opening. Behind the note sat a business card and a folded check. The number on it blurred her vision, not because it was an excessive, life-altering amount, but because it was so exact. It was enough for rent, enough for childcare, enough to finally breathe. And more importantly, the card invited her to call. There was no pressure, no guarantees, just the door left slightly ajar. That night, Ilara held her son longer than usual, listening to his excited stories about the letters he'd learned in school, feeling something unfamiliar bloom inside her chest. It was hope. A feeling she hadn't let herself have in a very long time. The next morning, after dropping her son off, she sat in her car for nearly 20 minutes, the business card in her hand, before finally dialing the number. When someone answered, they didn't rush her, they just listened. Weeks passed, and then months. Ilara didn't leave her job at the diner right away. She learned that Nathaniel Crow ran a foundation, one devoted to supporting small-town businesses and overlooked potential. He believed true dignity came from effort, not from charity. The note, she realized, had been his quiet test, not a test of her obedience, but of her awareness. Would she notice what others so often ignored? She had. Through mentorship, specialized training, and access to resources she never could have imagined, Ilara discovered a natural talent for coordination and leadership. The diner owner noticed, too, offering her more and more responsibility. Eventually, with guidance from the foundation and a modest grant, Ilara helped transform the very diner she worked in. She modernized the systems, expanded the hours, and turned it into a welcoming community hub that employed other parents who were also trying to balance work and family. Years later, Ilara stood in that same diner, now brighter and always full of laughter. Her son sat at the counter, a little older, doing his homework, confident and secure. Nathaniel Crow visited once a year. He always chose the same booth, and he always left, no tip only, a note. Each one was a simple reminder to Ilara that real change doesn't always arrive with a loud bang. Sometimes, it waits quietly, tucked beneath a plate, just hoping that someone is paying close enough attention. If this story moved you even a little, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to World of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them the most. And before you go, comment one word that describes how the story made you feel. And please tell us where you're rewatching from, because sometimes, what looks like nothing, changes everything. Thanks for watching.